Moving along, the next character, we have the character of Maggie. Her last name isn't stated, but she's the doctor of their little village, and it's established that she had a relationship with Ben Matheson following his wife's passing, one that his daughter did not agree with.
Mhm.
And she seems like she was a good supporting character. She played that, like I said, we don't really know much about her aside that she has medical training and that she had a. Anybody want to take a shot at the accent?
Well, I know what it is
She
because
also,
I was there when you discovered it.
What was it?
Australian.
Ah,
yeah, I was
Was
gonna
it?
say she sounded Australian.
okay, fair enough. We have the Australian doctor, so it's interesting to see how she got there from Australia. Was she just living in America when the power went out? Did she come here over the 15 years? What's going on with that?
Right.
That'd be interesting to see too.
I like the character.
She's played by an Annalise Phillips. She's done a few things before, but not a lot.
Mostly Australian stuff.
Yes, mostly she's been in quite a number of Australian shows. So, if you're listening to this in Australia, you probably know who she is.
I'm just glad they grabbed her. The first character you need in your party is a healer, so
This is true.
good on her to grab the doctor that the village probably needed.
And she is the classic
Smart.
healer too because she also has poison skills.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay, I can fight, sorta. So we have a healer, we have the comic relief guy. We just need one more person, and then they go get the ass kicker.
Pretty much.
Mm.
Well,
And-
what comic relief guy wouldn't he be the Sid of the group because he's like the tech dude?
Yeah. He did
Yeah.
sit. Yeah.
But Sid could fight most of the games.
We don't
Yeah,
know if this
yeah.
guy can fight. He
Through
just
the
never
game.
does.
Mm-hmm.
You think he could fight the Google guy?
I don't know.
Anything's
I
possible.
doubt it.
Anything's possible. But anyway, yeah. So it's interesting to it'll be interesting to see where her character leads to because you don't know all that much about her except that she seems to be effective in, you know, in basically predicting what might happen and making preparations to those things, and of course
Yeah.
being the doctor, which is effective to have. So we'll see where her character comes from and what her angle on the whole thing is.
Mm-hmm.
Also, as soon as my document
There's
comes
going to be
back,
more to her than meets the eye.
Yeah, they have a lot of room to grow her out because we know very little about her other than what little bit is shown. You know,
Yeah.
that she's a doctor and that she had a relationship with the dad. That's basically it.
yeah,
I actually
But,
would
given
be-
the accent, she probably does seem out of place, and they could easily do lots of cool stuff with her. So
I
let's
actually
hope they
wouldn't be
actually do.
surprised if she ends up turning on them, end up being a plant,
Yeah.
and the black chick
Yeah.
takes her place.
that'd be
could
cool.
see-
That'll work.
Because
moving along.
because the black chick obviously knows something about medicine to know enough about the asthma attack and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I
True.
could see them doing.
Hey,
that.
I know what. I know she was the girl that Monroe was on the phone with. That's who she was.
Hmm.
The 22-year-old that only knows about texting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just made that up.
Yes, you did.
Continue, James.
Especially because I'm relatively sure, if memory serves, I'm relatively sure she was like Ben's neighbor or something before the power went out. I think because I thought we saw her in a scene there in the neighborhood.
Oh, I don't remember that.
I could be wrong, but I feel like I saw her before that. But anyway, anything else on Maggie?
We'll
Okay,
see
then.
where she goes.
Next up, we got Aaron, the Google nerd, played by Zach Orth, who has not done very much acting at all prior to this.
He did a good job. He did a very believable job.
Mm.
Yeah.
I like that character too. I
it's
like
really
all the
not-
characters in this show.
I agree. But in all fairness, it's really not hard to play a believable nerd.
Hmm
Yeah, he was like the mandatory comic relief character, but he definitely seemed like a person.
I also wanted to say, to me, that character felt like a mix of Philip Seymour Hoffman and Paul Giamatti.
I can see that. Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. I
I
like the character, so.
Yeah.
I do like that he didn't he fight with when they attacked him at that hotel, didn't he like kill somebody?
Probably.
Well, he
tried
hit a
to
guy
hurt
with
somebody, and the doctor came in
stick,
and saved
then I
him.
think the guy.
He hit a guy
Yeah.
in the stomach with a stick. Was like, yeah, and then the dude got up. and He's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nah, he's a cool
Yeah.
character.
Not only is
Yeah.
Maggie a medic, she's a combat medic.
Yep. But are combat medics really medics?
Oh no, not this good.
But anyway,
Well, I know we're past her, but that's kind of why I think that there's definitely more to her because she's way too prepared with all that stuff.
yeah.
Mhm.
I also think it's more to Aaron, because I think the thing about Aaron is, because he worked for Google and is a big computer nerd, I think that might come in important in the fact that, these devices can still work technology in some fashion, and if it comes to how do we get this stuff to work together, if it comes to they have very little technology and they're like piecing together a hodgepodge of different things to make certain things work with the devices, his knowledge of technology could be very useful in that instance.
Yeah, he'll fix up that lady's computer.
Yeah.
I think
So it's
what's
under
going to
our
become the
control.
most important is his knowledge of life and society before technology ceased to work.
That
Because
too.
because he knew enough about the society from beforehand to know planes usually come equipped with medic packs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Yeah.
it's that kind of knowledge that will come in handy.
Yeah. I could see that.
Because he's
That's
the one
true,
that
that's
pointed
true.
out, it's like, yeah, there's probably going to be a medic pack there. And they're like, how do you know this? It's like, well, planes usually have medic packs.
No, he said because I used to own one.
That too. But yeah, I think
yes.
that'll play an important role.
Yeah, so we'll see where he goes. That'll certainly be interesting to
Speaking
follow.
of role, do you think he'll ever find his Charmin?
Wow.
Mhm.
Moving
Sorry.
on.
So yes, I certainly think it'll be interesting to see where the Aaron character goes, simply because his skill set is somewhat out of place in this world. So that'll be interesting to see where he comes into play.
Yeah, but I
that's-
think because his skill set's out of place in the world is exactly the reason why he fits perfectly in this world.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with what they're going with this story. He's like the character you need in the group.
Yeah.
Fair
Yeah.
enough. The next character to talk about is a Nate Walker, played by J.D. Pardo, who I'm wondering if is related to Saturday Night Live announcer Don Pardo.
Which character was this?
This is Nate Walker.
Is he
he was
Najee?
he was
Najee.
the archer, right? Yeah.
Ah, okay. He's
This is,
Hispanic Blue Ranger. Gotcha.
I didn't know he had a last name.
Yes, and it's Nate Walker.
Okay.
The character's introduced as they're on their way before they reach the airplane, but they're on their way to Chicago, and they stop to camp for a little while. When Charlie goes to get water from a nearby waterfall, when she gets near, she finds this young man in a pair of jeans and a blue shirt with a bow and arrow, who introduces himself as Nate Walker, and she asks if she can get some water. He's like, sure. They there's a little thing going on there. She gets the water and leaves. And they basically say that they basically go on their way, and they run into him again later when they get jumped on the airplane, and Dan Southerland is about to rape Charlie, and Nate comes out of nowhere and because they're by the open doorway, he shoots Dan Southerland in the back, and the arrow comes out of his chest and kills him. Before I proceed, Marcus, would you like to rant about the physics of that?
Well, I had just mentioned that from what I saw, the proximity of Dan Southworth to Charlie, I found it a little bit hard to believe that the arrow didn't just go straight through into Charlie's body and like kill her or seriously injure her too. Just because of the proximity. Because if you're gonna shoot someone, and unless you're like a master archer, which Nate could be, but unless you're a supremely gifted master archer, you're not going to be able to shoot a composite bow. Shoot an arrow from a composite bow with just the right amount of force necessary to pierce only one target at that range.
Mm-hmm.
That's some, like I said, that's like Olympic level archery right there.
Well, for me, they had a lot of physics stuff like that where I think it was more for show, but it it kind of bothered me. So I'm with you on that, where there were several instances of something like that, and I was like, come on, people. It's taking me out of it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, unless this guy trained in archery before the power went out, I really can't buy that he's gotten enough skill to do something like that.
And given that he's only maybe a couple years older than Charlie, that he'd probably been 5 to 7 when the power went out. So he may have done a little bit, but most of his training would have to have been after the power went out.
Yeah, I feel like they probably have to train like the kids in self-defense with weapons and stuff.
Yeah, as our good friend Aaron, the Google guy, points out, well, he's teaching the students about the world. I know this isn't as cool as, bow archery or something like that, but this is important stuff to know.
Right.
So
I
clearly
think,
archery is something they regularly teach the kids now because they need to be able to kill dinner.
Right. Yeah. And I think as the series progresses, as we learn more about Nate, some of that will probably be explained, and that scene will then become more believable once they may reveal, like, oh yeah, well he is an Olympic level archer, yada yada yada. It's like, well, okay, he's naturally gifted with the bow and arrow. Oh, okay, well then it becomes believable. I don't think so either. But just the scene as it was presented just wasn't believable to me, because like I just can't believe like that kid would have that kind of skill. I'm sorry. Also, I just made the connect while we were talking about this. He uses a bow and arrow. Yeah. Bow and arrow, blue shirt, looks like Naji de Tig. He's literally the Blue Samurai Ranger.
Hydro bow.
Yes, I was just like, wait a minute. He literally is Kevin. What the hell?
No, he's not, because this guy can act.
Yeah, and he's not black. He's Hispanic, but yeah. I think he's Hispanic and black or something like that. But
something like that, but anyway. Yeah.
I look forward to seeing where this character is very interesting, because you think you know his motivations, and then he turns it on its head. Mm-hmm. Although the one question I do have to ask, now that I'm thinking about it, when Charlie goes up to him and asks where he's going, he says Chicago. So he obviously knows they're going to Chicago. Therefore, he, and by extension, his superiors in the military, in Monroe's little military, they know that Miles is in Chicago. So why do they need Charlie? Why don't they just go and fucking raid Chicago? It's not that big a place. Not after
Chicago
went out.
Number one, Chicago's a huge fucking city, especially after the power went out, when you don't have GPS and cameras and spotlights and shit to find people.
True.
Second of all,
it's the third largest city in the United States.
But they already said most people left the city, so I imagine that it's not as populated. Yes, there's a lot of places for him to hide, but
Monroe was friends with Miles. He should know his friend. Think about it, Monroe. Where would your friend go? To a bar. Seriously, how good of a friend are you if you don't know where to even start looking for your best friend? Come on, man.
Well, see, it's been 15 years. He might not necessarily know where he is, and
well, we don't know. It's been 15 years since they stopped being friends. We just know it was 15 years since the power went out.
True. But anyway, I think more the fact of the matter is Chicago's still a huge city, and clearly with the amount of people in that hotel, there were still a lot of people that either stayed there or went back. So, and the fact that he was denying his own identity, unless General Monroe himself physically walked into the city, they don't know what the fuck he looks like.
This is true.
Unless Monroe himself walks in there and goes, yeah, that's him, kill him. Then they don't know. They don't know what he looks like. They didn't know him before the power. Now they don't have fucking pictures and shit to look him up on their iPhone. They can't do that. So
I don't know. It just seemed a little out of place, the fact that he knew they were going to Chicago, so therefore they knew that Miles would be in Chicago. It's like, if you have that information already,
Well, that's why when he showed up and they didn't trust him, I thought he was going to be a good guy, because I thought they were going to continue not trusting him. And then when he turned up to be a bad guy, I was like, wait, but it was super convenient that they left one guy behind and that he just happened to run across them and just happened to be going to the same place. Like, it was a little too convenient for me.
Well, honestly, honestly, they probably knew that they were going to have to go for Miles, so he was probably tracking them from the beginning, and they just snuck around and got in front of them long enough for Charlie to run into him.
Maybe, but that's
he might not have known where they were going. But I think when they have a conversation, isn't Charlie say we're going to Chicago before he says he's going to Chicago?
No, he says he's going to Chicago first, and then he asks, "So where are you going?" And then as he gains her trust, she finally tells him, because he's the one that first said Chicago. Now, going with Richter's theory here, if he had been tracking them from the beginning, then it's possible he overheard conversations either between Ben and Charlie, or Charlie and Maggie. That's how he knew they were going to Chicago.
Chicago is that direction, because I could see that being a major hub. He might know it's that direction, but really just the rest of it. Like, I guess he could be tracking them, but I don't know. It just seems like a lot of foresight to be like, well, this might go wrong. Let's leave a guy back to track them. It was just kind of
but if they
seem plausible.
Well, it makes sense though, because if they know, okay, we have the son, we have the nephew, we've got to find the brother. Well, they're going to have to find the brother. They're going to want to get him back. They're going to need the brother, because Monroe will know they're going to go for Miles to get this guy back. So I had this guy come out and track them, any people that leave to try to go find Miles, and they'll lead us right to Miles.
I also get the feeling that Nate doesn't work for the insurance salesman. He works directly for Monroe. Because to me, it seemed like the insurance salesman guy didn't know that Ben had any kids, but Monroe would have known.
That's what I thought.
So Monroe, it seems to me it's something Monroe would do. It's something he would say to Nate, I've trained you for this. This is what you need to do. Ben Matheson has a daughter. Track her down. She will lead you to the brother.
Well, no, because insurance agent might have known. I don't know if he was being specific when he said it, though.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just when he said, "Oh, is this your boy?" To me, I thought that meant that he didn't know. And we might
not necessarily know that it was his boy per se, but in all fairness, when he talks about Ben, and if I refuse, I will conscript all your children and brainwash them so far they won't even remember your name.
Yeah, and he says all your children, so I kind of feel like he doesn't know. And with Monroe, I get the feeling that he might not know if he had kids because it would take Miles telling him. And Monroe kind of seems like he's jackassy enough to not care about his best friend's family. So I could easily see if Miles is just like, oh yeah, he's got 2 kids and lives in the thing, and Monroe's like, whatever, I'm texting my girlfriend. That was the impression I got. At least, so.
Pretty much. But anyway, it is a little bit of coincidence, but I'll have to go back and watch it, but I still feel like they said they were going to Chicago before he did. I feel like that happened.
They might have. I don't recall. Sorry.
I don't think so. From what I recall,
because I feel like she said to him, "Where are you going?" He said, "Chicago." She said, "Us too." "Where are you going to Chicago?" "I want to join up with a fishing crew. How about you?" "Going to find someone."
Yeah, something like that. But I think he mentions Chicago first, because I remember her going up to him and saying, "Where are you going?" Or he asks her where she's going, and she's like, "You first," or something like that, and he said, "I'm going to Chicago." And then they talk a little bit. He gains her trust, and then because I remember him turning the question back around on her and saying, "Yeah, so where are you headed? Where are you going?" And she goes, "Well, we're headed to Chicago too." It's like, "Oh, really? That's a coincidence."
Yeah, Chicago too, as in he was already headed there.
No, she said that. She said, "Oh, well, we're going to Chicago too." After she realized he was going to Chicago.
We'll rewatch it later. At any rate, it's going to be interesting to see where that character develops and whose side he's really on. Especially in this kind of world, so that's certainly a wild card to consider.
I couldn't.
Moving right along.
Wait.
Sorry, go ahead, Nero.
I was just gonna say, that's one thing I couldn't tell, whose side he is really on. It's hard to tell at this point, but hopefully they'll touch on that.
Yeah.
He's on his own side.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, for those people that are getting the reference we made earlier, Naji Datij is an actor who portrays Kevin the Blue Samurai Ranger in Power Ranger Samurai and Power Ranger Super Samurai, and he looks an incredible amount like J.D. Pardo, who portrays Nate Walker, and he happens to wear a blue shirt and wield a bow the same way Kevin wields a bow as his Ranger weapon. That's why we're making the references.
Yeah, and also for those who don't understand the Rudy reference, he's a character in a project we're doing who happens to be a bartender that becomes a Power Ranger. So, yeah.
Precisely. At any rate, 2 more characters to talk about. The first is Captain Tom Neville, former insurance adjuster turned mercenary for the Monroe militia.
He's awesome. I'd like to see Dennis Haysbert play that role.
Yeah. He's portrayed by actor Giancarlo Esposito, who starred in a number of HBO programs and is a very well-known actor, and is the one actor that's been praised across the board for this show that everybody said was great. Other actors has been iffy. People said this one's good, this was not good. Across the board, everyone has said Giancarlo Esposito is very good in this role, so we'll see where this goes.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, I liked the way he portrayed him, and I liked the character. Because he was more that quiet badass, where he doesn't overtly, kill everyone, but that he has a handle on the situation no matter what's going on.
I gotta ask, did anybody else get a Denzel Washington feel from that guy?
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah. He seems like that. He seemed like calm Denzel Washington mixed with Dennis Haysbert and a touch of Morgan Freeman.
Yeah,
I could see that.
By the way, if you heard anything on the internet, Morgan Freeman is not dead. That was a hoax.
Yes.
Well, I'm just glad that when he took the sun, and he's like, you're probably wondering why I took you, because I actually said to my monitor at that time, yes, I was actually wondering that, because it didn't make much sense to me. So I'm glad they at least touched upon something like that, where most shows I feel kind of gloss that over. So I give them a bonus point for doing that.
You were talking to your monitor?
Yes.
What are you like Plankton? You have a computer wife you talk to?
You're talking to your monitor. You're talking to your microphone.
Yes, but a microphone is made to be microphone is made to be spoken to. That's the difference.
You don't yell at your TV? You're not close enough to New York City, man.
Anyway, moving on.
Anyway, the final character to speak about tonight is General Sebastian Bass Monroe, a former friend of Miles Madison, Marine turned general of the Monroe militia in this new world, portrayed by David Lyons. Well, he hasn't done all that much stuff. He's done something. David Lyons is somewhat well known for being in the previously failed NBC series The Cape.
Oh, yeah, that's why he looks familiar.
Where he portrayed the titular hero, The Cape, in the one season that the show was on the air. So they gave him another shot with this, and I think he did pretty well.
Yep, I agree with what little he had.
Yeah, I think he'll certainly be a good villain, and it's the fact that he has that relationship to Miles is going to make it all the more interesting as to how he'll work this out and why he wants the power. Does he know what it is? Does he have the capability to make it work? It'd be interesting to see how that plot plays.
Yeah, I really hope they go into why he's leading his militia, because in the little bits you get of him beforehand, he doesn't really seem like a power hungry kind of guy. So I'm really hoping that they have some really good backstory as to why he decided to seize the power and how he all that.
I know it would be kind of taking the piss and maybe not what the fans are looking for, but I kind of want him to turn around and just be like someone ask him, like, why are you doing this? Why become this general and this militia and stuff? And I want him to turn around and just be like, because I'm a dick. I don't know why, but I just want to see that. It's like just someone being a dick for dick's sake, just because he's an asshole.
That's what I got. He turns and shoots him.
That's what I got from him, though. He does just seem like a general asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't really see villains like that are villains for villain's sake. It's like, I'm bad because I'm bad. What part of that don't you understand?
Yeah. You kind of see that all the time.
Well,
I could see if he was just bad, I could see him just being like a killer. Mm-hmm. He seems like he's trying to establish an army, so it seems like he's trying to grab for power. I don't. That's
It'll be interesting.
I'm just saying, nobody with the possible exception of Richter, nobody in this conversation has the right to talk about not having seen evil for the sake of evil after 20 years of Power Rangers.
True.
Except most of them evil because they want to take over Earth.
Well, yes, but why take over Earth? Because you're evil. It's a catch-22.
True.
The only villains that had actual motivation were Rancic, Lothar, and Grum, and that was about it. And even Grum barely had that.
Fair point. We can discuss Power Rangers at a later date.
Well, technically, at a previous date, we already did that.
This is true.
Yes. So another character we want to talk about. I didn't have her listed here. Nero wants to discuss the woman from the end. Now, Marcus, when we looked this up, was she the character named Nora, or was that the other character? Because we got the two characters confused.
That was the other character. Nora is played by a supermodel, or at least a model. She has yet to be revealed, because I actually looked her up on Google Images, and there's some promotional stills with her in it, and so by that we know what the character looks like, and I don't recall ever having seen her in the pilot.
Okay. Well, I don't remember the other woman's name, unfortunately. I'll look it up.
Did she have one? I can't remember.
She did.
On Wikipedia, it says Grace.
That's it, Grace. Thank you. What's the actress's name, so we have it?
Maria Howell.
Thank you. Yes, Maria Howell portrays Grace. She's a woman we see who, for a time, assists Danny by giving him an inhaler for his asthma attack, but eventually apparently turns him over to the militia. and is revealed to have one of the same devices that Aaron was given by Ben. And so she's able to use it to activate a computer and communicate with somebody over what appears to be a dial-up connection. So it's a question of, okay, what was she and Ben part of a group that had these things that know what's going on, or who was she talking to? What's the connection there? And you wanted to say something about her, Nero. Go ahead.
Yeah, going back to what you guys said about Najee, about how it is kind of a coincidence that he's going to Chicago. I found it was kind of a coincidence that, the house that he happens to have an asthma attack outside is not only does she have an asthma, or she has an inhaler, but she also has one of those, whatever
Devices.
you call it. Yeah, one of those. Like, what are the odds that it's that house?
True.
That's the one thing that really irritated me about the thing.
Yeah, well, I have a feeling with the way this series is, it has been designed, there's going to be a lot of coincidence.
Yeah.
But I would also like to say, when I was watching this with both Nero and James, and when she first came up on the screen, for those of you who are Star Trek Next Generation fans, you'll get this reference. I was like, oh my god, it's Lily Sloan. Which, again, another actress I would not mind seeing in this thing. Alfre Woodard. Fabulous actress.
Indeed.
For her part, I definitely agree. It was very convenient. But from my perspective, she also had the most interesting part. Because I really liked the end, like what she did. I was like, what is she doing? And then she had the thing, and I was like, how'd she get that? Like, my brain didn't quite click that there's multiple. And then I was like, how'd she get that? Oh, it must be another one. And then, she does the thing with the computer, and I was just like, oh, shit, dude, here's some good plot, even though it's convenient, that was the most interesting part to me.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see where she goes with that whole, I guess, plot line.
And I'd also kind of like to know who she's talking to on the other end of that computer.
Well, yeah, of
course. For sure.
It's possible she's talking to Nora.
True.
To who?
Nora.
The one we haven't seen.
The one character we haven't seen.
Yeah, we can only guess who she's talking to.
Oh, that's possible. You know what? In the end, that would be interesting. Sort of, is we find out that whatever group they were a part of that was developing this was related to the government, and through the military connections, Monroe actually has one of these things. He just doesn't know how to make it work. Like he actually has one of these things, but doesn't know how to make it work. But he knows that they know, and that's why he's trying to track these people down, because he knows they know how to make it work, and that's why he's tracking them down. Like he has whatever the government center that created these things was, or whatever, under control, but he doesn't know how to use any of this shit.
I think it'd be hilarious if they do that, and then Miles takes a look at it, pops the USB thing, and be like, "Well, yeah, you can't make it work because you don't have the program on the USB drive, and there's no way for you to get it because we're not going to turn your computer on. So ha."
I think it'd be funny if he
give me that.
He takes the locket and he pushes it, and he turns it around, and then it works. Like the guy had it in backwards or something. That'd just be funny.
That would be
take the piss out of the entire series. Or he's like, you got to plug it in. God, really?
Oh my god.
Anyway, yes, James, continue.
Well, there we go. So that's all the characters. That went a lot longer than I thought it was going to. Next, I just generally want to talk about the draw, the drawability, whatever you call it, the ability of a show to capture fans' attention and make them want to see more. Like I said, the show premieres on September 17th. When it does, do you think of the people that tune in to watch the pilot, do you think it will draw them in and make them want to watch more? Do you think it doesn't capture the attention? Does it make you want to know what's going on?
Yes.
Yeah.
We touched a lot about that when we talked about the characters.
There's
and
so
just
much
on the characters
to know.
alone, there's a huge draw there. Never mind the plot and the acting.
Yeah, there's so much to discover about it that it will leave you asking all the questions that we're asking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, just the notes to have in here. The role of Rachel Matheson was originally played by an Andrea Roth before Elizabeth Mitchell took it over.
For the draw, a couple of the nitpicky things, like with convenience or the wonky physics, took me out a little bit. But I think, like everyone has said, the plot, what really happened, kind of the mystery about it, and what they can do with the characters, I think, is going to outweigh that. So, yes, I do think that it will have some good draw.
Yeah, and I think it's also possible they'll explain away some of the convenience as you learn more and more about the world and the characters.
Yeah.
I don't bank on it, but there is.
Mm. Actually, I'm wondering. I'm looking at some of the promotional images here. That character that you identified as Nora Marcus in the background of some of these shots, I'm noticing, maybe it's a coincidence, but she happens to bear a bit of a resemblance to Elizabeth Mitchell. I'm wondering if she might be Rachel Matheson's like sister, like an aunt from the mother's side.
That's a possibility.
Mm.
It would be the first time a model tried to play a badass.
Maybe that's just a coincidence. I don't know.
We'll see.
No. Aside from that, also there's a lot of interviews. If you go to the site, there's a lot of interviews on here. Billy Burke, Giancarlo Esposito. You can follow Revolution on Twitter. I am. You can see some of the places where they filmed interviews with the cast on set. There's
Revolution's
also a game.
Twitter channel down below.
Yes, and there's also a game, Survival, Fact or Fiction. Play the new game now. So there you go.
Anyway, you digress.
Yes, I do digress. Oh, there's even a survival guide on here. Look at this.
Yes.
That's awesome.
You need to create a series called I Digress.
Spoilers.
Anyway.
The last category I have is longevity. Given what they've established in the pilot, do you think that the concept has duration ability? Do you think it has the ability to last for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons, whatever? Do you think it has that ability to keep going for season after season and keep the ideas fresh and interesting and keep the plot going? Or do you think it will, after a certain amount of time, the plot ideas will run dry and it'll start getting stale?
Well, anything gets stale after a amount of time. After, certain amount of time, you run out of ideas for certain concepts. So certainly this one does have a finite amount of longevity, but I think that, this concept has enough potential to actually go for a decent amount of time.
Yeah. Like I said, it depends on exactly, certain things can go longer than others. I mean, Lost lasted for 6 years, and they just made shit up as they went along, and they've admitted that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Shows like, I mean, just because you don't necessarily run out of ideas. I mean, put it to this way: how long have the Simpsons been on the air?
Yeah, but you also have to realize this show is based in science. They went through the trouble of getting a physicist, for God's sake. So I don't think they're just going to make shit up. I think they're going to make sure it's entirely within the realm of scientific plausibility before they do anything.
Well, also, a sitcom will have a different duration than a drama, usually.
This is true.
Yeah.
Or a
especially
sci-fi
a plot-heavy,
type show.
Especially plot-heavy ones.
True. Okay.
For like,
okay, Law and Order SVU's been on for like 17 years.
Yeah. But they also don't have an overarching plot.
What's that, Nero?
Doctor Who's been on for like 50 years now.
Exactly. Whenever they run out of ideas, they're like, okay, screw it, new actors, let's keep going.
Oh,
yeah.
Don't even get me started. Don't even get.
Yeah, I don't know that would work with this show just because of how tied in the characters seem to be to the overarching story of the show.
True, but you could certainly have it, develop where some of the side characters like Maggie or the nerd guy or Najee Natesh could be replaced as long as like Miles and
Charlie
are still there. I think it could certainly continue on in different aspects because they've stated for this show that they're going to travel all across the United States and you're going to see all kinds of different places in the U.S. as they are after the 15-year blackout. So
yeah, I would like to point out that the episodes, it looks like they're named after cities in. Like, the second episode's called Pontiac, Illinois, and then the third is St. Anne, Illinois, so it seems like each one they're going to go through a different city.
Mm-hmm.
It's
might I ask from where that information came?
Wikipedia.
Oh, handy. I was on their Wikipedia page. I didn't even see that shit. Where'd you see that?
Under episode list, series overview.
No, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, I think a big portion of the longevity, where they can get longevity for this show, is in the backstory, is in the flashbacks of what happened to people and to these different cities immediately following the blackout.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that could extend the series for a long, long time, especially if they're going city to city with each episode. You could easily get like fucking 20 seasons off that shit.
Well, that's just it. And that also depends on, to begin, how much territory the Monroe militia controls.
Yeah.
Because they know that there's other militias in the United States. Monroe just happens to be the biggest. So it's a matter of how much territory does Monroe control. Could we eventually lead to, wars between these militias that lead to them ending up in other areas, seeing other parts of the country? You could certainly keep that sort of thing going for a long time. And that would be
I just got a bad feeling.
Yes?
When you reminded me that there's militias all over the place, all of a sudden CSI flashed through my mind. With CSI New York, CSI Las Vegas. It's like, there's another group from Washington. There's another group in Mexico. There's another group in Canada. It's like, no, we don't need spin-offs.
I'm from Monroe County, Illinois, so I kind of hope that maybe this came out of my hometown
screwed,
or something.
buddy. That's possible. I don't know. I mean, like I said, it was written by the dude that wrote Supernatural. Maybe he's from your area. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
You see where I'm going with this? We don't need fucking David Caruso showing up in a spin-off of this series.
No, I want to see that.
How?
For the longevity, I personally feel that because it's so plot-driven and because, it's a lot of the why and, how and will it be turned on, and given that there's that 15-year gap, I feel that there's only so much logically they can put in those 15 years that's interesting. And I think they have enough for a couple of seasons, but I feel personally that they shouldn't draw it out. They could go all over the country, but I don't want it to feel drawn out. And I feel if the more that they delve with how long it takes to travel on foot to these different places, could really draw it out, and I think that would be bad in the long run. And I kind of, because it seems like the plot would be really interesting, I'm hoping that they focus on that. And even if it's only a 2 or 3 season show, as long as it feels complete and they get through the plot and everything feels right, I'm okay with it not being a 10-year show. I think that would be better to keep it just a few seasons.
Well, that's just it. The thing is, networks don't book shows just to be 2 or 3 seasons. They book shows that they want longevity. That's why Lost was so good. Lost went for 6 seasons, and then they decided to end it on their own terms, and they were fine with that. They want shows that are going to last 4 or 5 years that they can bank on for several years to carry their lineups.
And that's not good. Because actually with Supernatural, if it's the show I'm thinking of, he only wanted to make it 3 seasons. They wanted it to go longer. And as far as because my wife has watched some of it, and what she's heard from everyone is that after season 3, the show sucks because the guy didn't want to do it. And there's 6 seasons. So, yeah, I know that obviously, yes, the TV, a studio or a network wants to keep it drawn out, but I think that's almost always to the detriment of the show. I mean, how often do you actually hear people talk about Simpsons anymore? All I ever hear is it hasn't been funny in the last, 10 years, and I haven't even watched it, and I don't feel I miss it. So they want that, but that's not always the smartest idea. And it's also, I know that, creativity and whatever, you should cut it off, but even from their standpoint of making money, there should be a finite point. After that, it's going to drop off, and then no one will give a crap, and they start losing money again.
Yes, well, that's the case, but honestly, the thing is, it costs them more money to produce and create a new show from scratch than the amount of money they lose to keep an old show on the air.
That's true. I think they want, what is it, 4 seasons you need for syndication? That's really the magic number that they want.
Is that what it is? I wasn't sure.
I thought that's what it used to be. I don't know how true that is anymore.
That's actually true.
I think one thing they could do to extend the life, because I agree, drawing it out is probably a bad idea. You draw it out 2-3 seasons, like you said, and what you do is you have them turn the power back on, and then in season 4, all new cast. Except you take the original cast and you make them the villains. And you do it from a perspective of a group of people who want to turn the power back off. Because they remember, you have a group of people where some of them remember what it was like before the power went off the first time. And the rest of them, and those guys also know what it was like, remember what it was like after the power was off, before it was turned back on. And they'd rather have it back to the idyllic life, so you could have this group trying to find the people from the first 3 seasons to turn the power off. And of course, the original main cast doesn't want the power to be turned back off because they just went through all this trouble to turn it back on.
That'd be interesting.
I think personally that's a really good idea. I also believe that's why they won't do it. I feel it's too different from their perspective to do it, but I actually think that's a really good idea. That would be a good way to extend it, and it's definitely a different take on it, where you take the whole series that somebody just watched and you just turn it over and you're like, oh, look, now there's people that don't agree with them, and you could have a lot of interesting stuff to do with that, and I don't think they would do that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I like that idea, actually.
Or as Mr. Mark Hamill said about the people who made Batman animated series, they're not that creative.
That's why there's fan fiction.
Exactly.
Precisely. Because what the writers can't create, the fans will.
Yep.
And that quite literally goes for anything.
Yes.
Cough, Rule 34, cough.
Yep.
Well, at any rate,
I could
anyway,
go on a long-winded speech / tirade about TV in general these days, but I won't.
save that for another episode.
I will.
So anyway, does anybody have any final closing thoughts about Revolution? Anything else you want to mention, like, disliked, will you be tuning in? Like I said, I know for at least 3 out of the 4 units conversations, it's going to be a pain in the ass because it airs Mondays at 10, which, for those of you that know where we came from, is the same time as Monday Night Raw. So this is going to be kind of a bitch for all of us, unless they continue to put the episodes online, in which case, okay, we can watch them on Tuesday.
Right. And it's funny you mentioned Monday Night Raw, because my entire response to this can be summed up in 3 words. Feed me more!
God, please don't dignify that character.
I'm sorry,
Well,
but it works. I want to see more of this show. It's an awesome show. And I haven't been this excited about a TV series, well, hell, since I was young. So.
By the way, he wasn't able to watch it because it's in Australia, but since he just interjected himself, the Fallen Angel's here.
I think he might be. As per
he's the one that just popped in and said Ryback.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought maybe you were going for a Phantom Menace award.
No. He actually popped in and said, "You mean Ryback?"
Oh, I didn't.
That's why I mentioned him. I heard that.
Well,
it wasn't the 3 of us. I know it wasn't Nero because he doesn't watch wrestling, so it had to be the Fallen Angel. He's here, but he unfortunately, because he's in Australia and the pilot's only available in the U.S. right now, he wasn't able to watch it and join us. Neither was Chris the Mole. But hopefully, once the pilot actually airs, usually it takes a while to get over to them. But once it's online regularly, maybe they can watch it and maybe they can.
It actually says here that it's going to air in Australia starting September 19th.
Well, there you go. So the Fallen Angel will have it soon enough, and he can register his thoughts as well. So anyway, like I said, final thoughts on the show. Anything else?
I'm looking forward to it. I haven't, like you said earlier, Marcus, I haven't been excited for a show in a while, and I want to see where this goes.
Yeah. The only other show that I'm excited for, because I've only seen 1 episode of this, and it was in the middle, is a show on Sci-Fi called Lost Girl. That show's awesome.
Yes, I keep being told I need to watch that show.
Yeah, these 2 shows have me excited for TV again, and I haven't been excited about TV since, like, fucking Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Well, I think Lost Girls for another episode. However, if you want to get excited for TV again, I encourage you, anybody who needs something to watch on Thursdays, I encourage you to head over to CBS and check out Person of Interest at 9 and Elementary at 10.
Dun, dun.
There will be a forthcoming review of the first season of Person of Interest once I get off my ass and do it. I'm hoping to have it out in the next few weeks before the September 27th premiere of the next season 2 of Person of Interest. I'm hoping to have it done by then. I hope. If not, sorry, but I'm going to try to get the retrospective out before then. If you don't know, Person of Interest is a great show on CBS. It stars Michael Emerson from Lost. What the hell is the other guy's name? Jim Caviezel. You might know him as Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great show that has a certain amount of mystery. It's about they create a machine that watches everybody, detects crimes, and to prevent them. And obviously, Elementary is basically the American version of Sherlock, with an American Sherlock Holmes and a hot female Asian Watson. Yeah. Marcus's dream.
That's
Watson.
American to me.
There you go.
And we will say right now, the British contingent of the X-Pound absolutely hate it because they did it behind the Brits' back. So yeah.
Oh no, they didn't do it behind the Brits' backs. Well, they sort of did, but the gentleman portraying Sherlock in the American version is actually with Benedict Cumberbatch, who portrays Sherlock in the British version. They're actually good friends, and he wished him luck on the American show. So there is a certain amount of. I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch still thinks that his show's better, but there's a certain camaraderie saying, "Good luck, give it a shot, see what you can do." So we'll see where that goes. That'll be interesting. That'll be my Thursday night watching those two shows certainly. Like I said, I'm gonna watch the beginning of Elementary. If the pilot's good, I may have an Origins for that as well. We'll see where that goes.
And then I can pop in and give Chris the Mole's backstory on that stuff and why he hates it, which I can kind of agree with.
Or he can pop in and give it.
If you want the whole thing to be a whole American Sherlock is shit, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, don't ask Mole why he hates everything. That's an ongoing series.
Literally, he won't even watch it. He'll just come in and say it's shit because of the reasons he's got, which I can tell you later. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Well, anyway, thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on this premiere episode of the Origins bit of Rise from the Airwaves.
It was fun.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Yay. Nero Rossi. Nero, we need to get you an X-Pound show of your own. What do you want to review?
We can discuss that later.
Pick something.
Since I know you guys from from Ranger Vision, probably I'm thinking something maybe Power Rangers related.
You could do a review of that. Like I said, you're going to be nonstop compared to Linkara, but you could do it.
Yeah, well,
that's the reason I haven't yet done that, except for the group thing because it was slightly different.
Oh, you will. But that's another discussion for another time.
We'll find something we can get you to review. For now, Nero Rossi joining us as a sidekick reviewer and an outside presence here, of course. Special correspondent.
Yes.
Of course, the stay-at-home dad gamer Richter Hammer. Check out his PAX review of God of War Ascension. Good stuff.
And the other ones that people didn't like.
Yes, and the other ones. Did you get that one that Mo wanted you to review, whatever that was?
Probably. I don't know. He mentioned, what did he mention? Oh yeah, the Marvel MMO. I looked at it.
Yeah.
I got to write something up, but people. I posted one of Devil May Cry, and of course, because people hate that game, people hate anyone talking about it.
Well, they only hate it. They only hate it. They turn Dante into an emo fuck.
Exactly.
But anyway, So thank you, Richter, and of course my COO number 2 man for the X-Pound from Showtime soon, hopefully,
yes,
possibly, potentially, probably not.
1 week.
One day, maybe, probably, eventually.
Feed me more.
Yeah, there you go. So yes, there will be forthcoming reviews for Showtime. The Dark Knight Rises, The Amazing Spider-Man, Power Rangers movies, good stuff like that there. Stay tuned.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, for Rise from the Ashes and the Airwaves here, I'm James Phoenix. Thank you for joining us for the first Origins episode of the show. There will be more. There will be more regular Rise from the Airwaves forthcoming. I'll see you again when I rise from the airwaves and the ashes. Hit the theme song.